Today we're going to talk about law of cosines, section 13.6. Last section of the chapter here, law of cosines. Similar in respect of what law of sines is, but a little more difficult. You want to make sure you have a calculator today as we're going through this. Law of sines is a little bit more lengthier than the law of cosines. And because of its length, it's a little bit tougher, maybe. Not really. Not too bad. Law of cosines. For any triangle with side lengths A, B, and C that are opposite angles A, B, and C respectively, you get this really cool long formula. A squared equals B squared plus C squared minus 2BC times cosine of A. Now technically they give you three formulas there. I will always just use the top one. Okay, all three of them are the exact same thing. The only thing that really matters is this side needs to be opposite of this angle. That is the only thing that is very, very important in the law of cosines. Okay? So if I am given this angle, I need to make sure that is my opposite side. Those match up. B and C are always interchangeable. Okay? B and C are interchangeable. It is the angle and the opposite side that are important in the law of cosines. Okay? So it's this part that needs to make sure those are opposite of each other. Okay? For example, down here, I have triangle HJK. I am trying to solve for HK. Okay, so that is then going to be my x squared here. Now because that's my x, I need to make sure that 50 is my cosine angle. B and C are interchangeable. 17 squared plus 14 squared minus 2 times 17 times 14. This is what I call plug and chug. Take your information, you plug it in, you chug through the problem. Okay, and again, calculator will help you. The biggest mistake a lot of students make is right here. When they subtract, they want to try and subtract before they do the cosine of 50. Recognize, order of operations, this is multiply, multiply, multiply. You got to make sure you do all multiplication before you do subtraction. Okay, and that's where a lot of students make their mistake, because they want to try and simplify before they multiply by a cosine angle. You have to do the cosine angle there within the multiplication step. Alright, so let's look at the first problem with the law of cosines. Number one here. I first want to find out, what do I know? I know the measure of angle A. The measure of angle A is actually going to be 46 degrees. That's right there. I know B. Technically I know B here because it's opposite of big B, so I can say that B is going to be 9. I know C because C is opposite of C, which is 7. Okay, I'm now going to plug this into the law of sines. Remember, what's important? A has to be opposite of A. My angle and my side, either one that I'm trying to find, have to be opposite of each other. And those have to make sure they match up here. So I have A squared equals 9 squared plus 7 squared minus 2 times 9 times 7 times the cosine of 46. So I plug all the information in first, and I'm going to chug through what I'm doing. I'm going to simplify. I get A squared equals 9 squared is 81, 7 squared is 49. Add those up, I get 130. Is everybody okay with me just skipping to that step right there? Okay. Minus 2 times 9 is 18, times 7 is 126, cosine of 46. Is everybody with me so far? All I've done so far is I have multiplied and added these, and I have multiplied these. This is where students sometimes make their mistakes. What do they want to do? They want to take 130 minus 26 and then times the cosine of 46. Order of operations says, though, I need to do 126 times the cosine of 46 and then subtract that. Again, if you have a calculator, you feel free to type all that into your calculator. You can do 130 minus 126 times the cosine of 46 in your calculator. And when you do, I think you end up getting, A squared equals, isn't it like 49.42? 49.42. Is that my answer? No, because what undoes a squared term? Square root. So I have to do the square root of that. Square root of 49.42 gets me approximately 7 point, was it? What's the square root, bud?
Yeah, but
What is it? Isn't it 7 point what?
2.
It's lower than that.
No.
What's square root of 49.42? It's like type in your calculator. Square root of 49.
Point something. 1.
Huh?
It's 6.48.
All right, so let's backtrack here. So you subtract them, you end up getting 42 point what? 47. Now I take the square root of 42.47, and now I get approximately what? 6.5?
Yeah.
There we go. Okay. Now we got the right side length. Good. Okay, next here. Now it says it wants me to find angle B. Well, now that I know all the sides and I have an angle, now I can use the law of sines. And again, I can use the law of cosines if I want to again, but law of sines is a lot easier. I think we all probably agree with that. Sine of 46 over 6.5 equals the sine of x over 9. Right? Law of sines there. Angle, opposite side. Angle, opposite side. Now looking at this right here, what should my angle be? Should my angle be smaller or bigger than 46? Bigger, right? Great, so I'm going to use law of sines here. Sine of 46 times 9 divided by 6.5. I'm going to get a decimal. What do I have to do with that decimal? Do the sine inverse. Yes, you have to make sure you do a sine inverse of all of that. And you end up getting angle B comes out to be approximately to the nearest degree 85 degrees. Now I have two angles. How do I get the third angle now? And subtract from 180. Yep, so you get 180 minus 46 minus 85. Yeah, I'm getting 180 minus 46 minus 85. And angle C has to be then, what is it? 49 degrees. Now, as we check this, does that check out? Well, the shortest angle is opposite the shortest side. Okay. The largest angle is opposite the largest side. So that checks out. Good work. Let's try number 5 here. It says it wants me to find EF. Okay. So I'm going to look on here and I'm going to label EF. I'm going to call that just my X. Now, law of cosine says A squared equals B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cosine of A. And again, what's important? Those have to make sure you match up. So your angular side that you're trying to find have to make sure they're opposite of each other. I'm trying to find X here, or EF. So that means I'm going to have X squared equals 9 squared plus 10 squared minus 2 times 9 times 10 times the cosine of 43. Again, what's got to be important here? These have to make sure they are opposite of each other. In that, B and C are interchangeable. So I plugged everything in. Now I'm going to chug through the problem. I get X squared equals 181. Why is it 181? 9 squared plus 10 squared. Minus 180 cosine of 43. Again, make sure from this step, type it in correctly. You don't do 181 minus 180 first. Okay, you have to make sure you plug it in correctly. You're going to get a number, and then the last step is make sure you take the square root of that number. Yes, sir?
What's the correct method?
If you type it in your calculator, you can do 181 minus 180 times cosine of 43. Just whatever you do not do 181 minus 180, and then take all of that times cosine of 43. So make sure if you type it in, make sure you type in all of this together. Okay? Or if you have a phone calculator, I think you gotta go backwards through it sometimes. That's where the real calculators are a little bit better.
You do 181.
Alright, so this is the one where we end up getting x squared equals 49 point what? Like 0.4 something. And there then I have to take the square root. And now I get an answer of about what here? This one's about 7.0. I think it ends up getting about 7.0. Yep, this is what we're thinking of. Okay. And again, does that check out? Yeah, I got a small angle here. I'm going to have a small side. From here, if I wanted to, I could use law of sines. I can find angles E or F. Okay. Number 6 here. I'm going to look at number 6. Number 6 is the toughest of all these. Now I'm going to show you why here. What do they want me to find on number 6? They want me to find the angle. So I got to do a little bit more work on this one, and I need to find the angle. What's opposite of the angle? Opposite of the angle is 7. So I'm going to plug this into the formula here. I get 7 squared equals 6 squared plus 8 squared minus 2 times 6 times 8 times the cosine of x. Okay, I plugged it all in. We're good so far with where I plugged it in. Okay, the next step isn't so bad yet, because I'm going to simplify this. 7 squared is 49 equals 100 minus, what do you get there? 2 times 6 times 8, is that 96? Cosine of x. Okay, everybody does good until they get to this point. Here's where students make the mistake. Can I do 100 minus 96? No. This is a complete term of itself. So think about this algebraically. Well, how do I solve for that? I then have to do what? I've got to subtract this 100 to the other side first. Getting me negative 51 equals negative 96 cosine of x. Now what can I do? Now algebraically I can divide by negative 96. And when I divide by negative 96, I'm going to get a decimal. Is that decimal my answer? No. How do I go backwards to get a degree then? I'm going to have to use the what? Inverse cosine. Now here's the thing. What's a negative and a negative going to get me? They're going to get me a positive. So I'm going to use the cosine inverse of 51 over 96. So cosine inverse of 51 over 96, or as that as a decimal, either way you look at it. And what do you get for angle x to be, Maddie? It's about 56 degrees. About 56 degrees. Okay. Again, this is a little bit tougher of a problem because it's a little bit lengthier. Not so much plugging and chugging. I mean, still plug and chug, but then you have to solve it after that. Okay. And this is the step right here that most students mistake on. They want to subtract all this instead of leaving it first and then dividing by that part. Okay. Try numbers 9 and 10 here. Okay, they are set up for you. The formulas are at the bottom. Number 9 is asking you to find the side length. 10 is asking you to find the angle. Take a couple seconds and try these two. All right, so let's slowly start walking through this here on number 9. You want to find TU, so you get x equals 3.5 squared plus 3 squared minus 2 times 3.5 times 3 times the cosine of 58. When you plug and chug all that out, I think you end up getting, it's x squared. You end up getting approximately what, Andy? X equals about 3.2. You end up getting about 3.2. Nice job. Now number 10. Notice you're trying to find an angle on number 10. So you plug in here. What's opposite of that angle? 8. That's the important part. So you have 8 squared equals 4.8 squared plus 6.2 squared minus 2 times 4.8 times 6.2 times the cosine of h. Now you got to work all this out. At the very end, you have to make sure to do what? You do the cosine inverse. Now in this one, cosine inverse, you get negative 0. I think it's 0.42, something like that. Is that right? It is okay if you have a negative cosine inverse. Some people earlier this morning, they were like, well, I just left off the negatives. I thought I did something wrong. No, it's okay to do cosine inverse of a negative because your answer is actually going to be here about 92 degrees. If you don't do cosine inverse of the negative, if you do the positive, you get 88 degrees. So you have to make sure you include that negative Otherwise, you get the.
Same thing when I hit cosine inverse, it was a positive. Should have been negative.
Yep. Yep. Because I think we end up working it out. Because you divide by this negative right here, and you're positive on the other side. So you have a positive divided by negative because it's a negative, and that's where you get it from. Yes.
Where'd you get that?
The what?
Negative 0.04.
It came from what I have here. I had 8 squared equals 4.8 squared plus 6.2 squared minus 2 times 4.8 times 6.2. So I had to square all those. I subtracted them, then I divided them by this part right here. And then on the left side is where you got the negative 0.402.
Why didn't you do anything with the cosine?
Because I'm trying to find the cosine. So I had to leave it to the very end. Okay, yeah, that's the ones you have to go a little bit more work on. You have to go backwards. Law of sines, law of cosines. Use law of sines whenever you have an angle on the opposite side. So whenever you know an angle on the opposite side, so if I have a triangle here, whenever I know, like an angle in the opposite side, always use law of sines. It's when you do not know the angle on the opposite side. So something like this. If I have all the angles, or all the sides, sorry, well then I have to use law of cosines, so I have to find an angle. I know no angles. Or if I have a side, an angle, and a side, and you do not know the opposite side, that's when you have to use law of cosines. There's your assignment.